welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following episode. My name is Colton Brown, and joining me is Andrew Meadows.
I almost did a completely different noise. It would have been for the wrong movie. We are here, and our second consecutive week of recording. It almost feels like a return to normalcy a little bit.
Yeah,
if only I was doing the art. I might have to do the art on this Halloween, and then we'll return to like a normal pattern of things.
It'll be like we're back on schedule or something like that. Spoilers for the rest of the episode, but my catching up section is going to be pretty light because I haven't been up to too much, but we're not there yet. It's another regular episode. We're still playing catch up on the news, but we're talking about a brand new movie. And I think this is one of the few times recently where we're like Johnny on the spot of talking about a movie. And wouldn't you know it, it's probably because it had a day and date streaming release. But nonetheless, We're here to talk about Halloween Ends. We talked about Halloween 2018 back in the day before the dark times. And then Halloween Kills, I believe, came out in the midst of the dark times, and we never actually did an episode on it. And in fact, I don't think you ever saw it.
No.
Did you?
No, didn't watch that one.
And we'll talk about whether that impacted your viewing experience for Halloween Ends, because I'd be curious to talk about that. We've got lots of things to talk about when it comes to Halloween Ends. But one thing that is good that's coming out of it, if nothing else, is that we're firmly in spooky season, and we're doing. I think this will be the first Halloween-esque episode. I feel like that we're doing, right. You know, we're finally getting into the spirit of things. I feel like we've kind of constrained ourselves to talking about spooky stuff in the catching up sections.
Right. Yeah.
We've teased the idea that we're going to do a bonus episode, and indeed we will be doing a spooky season type bonus episode covering a plethora of horror films, of which we haven't disclosed all of those just yet. But this is it. We're 2 weeks away roughly from Halloween, the actual Halloween, October 31st. By the time this goes up, it'll probably be right around the corner, or depending on how long it takes, possibly after. I don't know. Who's to say? It just depends. But
if you want to listen to it now, well, if you're listening to it now, you probably are. You're already a Patreon. So bad plug. But
I can save it. I can save it. If you want to listen to our spooky Patreon episode, if you're listening to this on the regular feed, that will probably either be out already on the Patreon on a timed exclusive basis, or it will be out very, very shortly, and you'll just have to look to our social media feeds to find out when that happens. So Patreon offers some benefits. Patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat, and you know what? It's only $2 for 1 month. 1 month of timed exclusive bonus episode stuff and early access to all of our regular episodes, which is pretty cool, especially when we're piling them up like we are right now. It's pretty cool. So Halloween Ends, I have a fun fact I'd like to share on it. If you're up to that. I don't want to steal any thunder from you. I'm not sure if you have anything.
I have no thunder.
Time around.
No thunder tonight.
No thunder. All right, then I will be the thunder. So I found an interesting quote that pertains to Halloween Ends. I thought people might enjoy it. This is from an interview with Jamie Lee Curtis, who, of course, is famous for playing the Laurie Strode character in the Halloween franchise, all the way from the original 1978 John Carpenter classic. She has, I think, reprised her role several times throughout the Halloween franchise, including coming back for the 2018 direct sequel, and then Halloween Kills, and then now Halloween Ends. And so, in the wake of Halloween Kills coming out, she was asked, what should we expect about Halloween Ends? And so she said, it's going to make people very angry. And you know why she said that? Is because she knew it was going to be dog shit. That's why I'm saying that right now. Now, am I just going ahead and telling everyone what I think about this film? Yes, I am, because I don't know the last time we had an episode where we had a real stinker on our hands, but boy, oh boy, it's going to be one of those. So I'm just flagging it right now. I'm just flagging it, all right? One look at the Rotten Tomatoes score. This should not come as a surprise to anyone. If we were to be lumped with those critics,
what is the Rotten
Tomatoes I would be
score?
in the Rotten. I believe it's 39% as a recording. I don't know what the average average rating is, but I speculate it's probably not terribly high either. And the audience score is pretty low too, which doesn't surprise me. I think, well, we'll get into the full details of why I think Jamie Lee Curtis would say such a thing. But I wanted to be, I just wanted to throw that out there up front. I will offer the full quote, the fuller context. She wasn't just shitting on the movie. I am just describing some certain thoughts to the way she said it. But she said, there's one more film to make, and I know what it's about, and it's going to blow people's minds open. It's going to make people very angry, and it's going to be shocking because it asks a lot of questions. So that's all I can tell you. Which, again, I think still largely reads as code for it's a movie.
Yeah.
I was contractually obligated to make this third one. They're paying me bucket loads of money, and so, you know what? That's just fine. That's okay with me. A-okay. I got to spend the last movie in a hospital bed for the entire movie. This one, I mostly stand around and look at things. But guess what? There'll be a little bit more action towards the end.
I'm getting paid.
So Halloween Ends. We'll talk about it. We'll break it down.
We're gonna circle back around to that movie
in full gory, violent detail in due time. But let's talk about some news. Let's talk about another sad passing. Robbie Coltrane, who I think most notably, at least for myself, and perhaps for you, portrayed Hagrid, Rubeus Hagrid, in the Harry Potter films, has passed away at age 72. I think it's a really sad loss. I believe he was ill past few years. I think that kind of is obviously how we ended up here. Some of his Harry Potter co-stars put out some really nice statements, including Dan Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and I think Malfoy's actor, good lord, whatever his name is, Tom Felton, I think, put something out as well. He was also in other things such as James Bond. I think he was in a couple James Bond films, GoldenEye and The World Is Not Enough. And I think it's a sad loss. Certainly a very recognizable and impactful actor, and it's sad. It's very sad. So, did want to include that at the top.
I have to admit, when news of this broke, I didn't know it was Hagrid because I mean, hats off.
He's not terribly recognizable outside of the
hats off to the people that made the Hagrid get up what it is. I actually thought immediately, like when on first glance of the article, I thought that he was the guy with the eye like mine. That's what I texted my buddies. It's like, oh no, is that the guy that had the, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, Mad Eye?
Yes.
Mad Moody? Yeah.
Mad Eye Moody. And they're like, no, it's Hagrid. I'm like, oh fuck, it's Hagrid? That was Hagrid. I mean, that's what I know him from. And I read I'm scrolling through the BBC article here, and there was a really touching a picture of him and J.K. Rowling together. It looks like it's at a wedding or something. Just, man, life's fleeting. You don't know, you never know.
Yeah, he's the kind of man that could bring joy to a hateful woman's life. So there's that,
There is that.
And to bring up the Queen 2 weeks in a row, rest in peace. She appointed Robbie Coltrane an OBE in the 2006 New Year Honors, which stands for the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire. So that seems fucking fancy. That seems legit. I don't know a lot about
it's called the
British
Most Excellent
like that, but that's it's called the let me look it up again. The Most Excellent Order of the British Empire. British Order of Chivalry. Most Excellent Order of the British Empire.
That's what I'm thinking.
I think that's how they conduct the ceremony, is with Keanu Reeves as the master of ceremony.
Hey, Coltrane, you're most excellent, bro.
God, like I hope we don't have any British people listening to this, because they're either laughing with us or they're very, very upset right now. I'm really not sure.
You want to hop in my fucking phone cart or whatever, my phone booth? Ah, Jesus.
But anyway. At least we've lightened the mood already. I think that's good, because, we've got a lot of horror-y stuff and, some...
And our life was lightened by Coltrane's performances.
Yeah.
He will always be remembered by me as Hagrid. Hagrid will go down as just a good dude. Anyways, a good actor. That's what I recognize him from, and,
Yeah, and that actually reminds me, I think there's like a clip that he said in an interview, which I think has actually gone kind of sort of viral recently, where he's basically saying, like, in 50 years' time, like, I'll not be here, but Hagrid will, and I think that really obviously speaks to the impact of the Harry Potter franchise, and obviously also the impact of that character and his performance and guiding it, because he really was a fixture of those films. So, yeah. Rest in peace to Robbie Coltrane. Now, with that, we move on to, wouldn't you know it, talking about Keanu Reeves. Look at that synergy. Unplanned, I will say. Unplanned. We talked about this movie actually in a brief passing mention last week, and I had to bite my tongue because I thought maybe I'd throw this news out there then, but I held it back because I felt it might be worth a further discussion. The 2005 film Constantine, of course, starring Keanu Reeves as the American John Constantine, is getting a sequel. Close to almost 20 years later, not quite. 17 years later, it's getting a sequel that will bring back Keanu and reunite him with director Francis Lawrence, who, you guessed it, we talked about last week as well, in the context of having directed this film, and I think in the context of being hired to direct something else. I think the BioShock movie is what we mentioned.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And I can't remember if I actually said it correctly, but he did not actually direct the first Hunger Games movie. I think that's worth noting, because I think that is a bad film, and I think that the second one was actually a pretty good film, and that's the first one he directed. Now, the other two I don't know anything about. I don't know that I watched either of them. Maybe part one of Mockingjay, which I thought was shit, but I think I might have given him credit for the first Hunger Games, and that was unfair to him. I'm not sure that necessarily boosts his resume a huge amount, because like Red Sparrow was meh, and I Am Legend was quite bad, but Constantine was an interesting take on the character. Keanu was obviously very much not the comic book Constantine, I guess you'd probably say, from the comics, but it was an interesting film. I think it's kind of had like a cult following since it came around. But yeah, I mean, what do you think about a sequel? Are you game for that?
I think when this movie came out, I wasn't as big on Constantine as I am now. I thought I've always,
since then we've gotten a lot of content. I mean,
we've got a lot.
The season of that got him folded into Legends and the CW stuff. And,
we got a lot of things to compare this to. You know what I mean?
Sandman, I guess, has a iteration, right?
Yeah, a little bit, loosely,
sort of loosely, right? Yeah.
But as my appreciation for the occult and the people that kind of like practice the magic and stuff about it, and the DC universe and whatnot, I haven't seen this movie in a long time, but when I think on it, I think I don't like it.
Okay.
And like I said, I need to rewatch it, but I remember, like I said, just thinking about it, and then thinking about somebody like is it Matt Smith or Ryan Smith?
I think it's Matt Ryan.
I'm all fucked up. So yeah, that guy. He's perfect. And then you think about like DC Dark, the animated stuff.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Oh, so good. Right, like
because wasn't Matt Ryan doing the voice and
I think
some of those
so.
as well,
Yeah,
if not all of them. Yeah.
I think so.
He's kind of the Constantine guy.
That's what I think, anyways. So I can't say that I'm terribly excited for this. I will put a little like an asterisk pending review of the first film 15,
when's
20
the last
years.
time either of us watched it? It's probably
been forever. 15, 20 years.
Close to when it came out. I mean, granted, we would have been pretty young back then, but we still probably would have seen it around that time, I'm sure.
That's right. Yeah. So
and certainly not since. So
yeah, it needs to be revisited so I can have a definitive opinion. But
sure.
Compared to what's out there on first look, I'd say that I am as much of a fan of Keanu Reeves as I am. I don't know if I'm a fan of this, but we'll see where it goes. And we'll revisit the first film. So that's what I got.
Well, in the spirit of what we've talked about already, I think we should probably assign each piece of news a rating of either most excellent or not most excellent. So are you sticking with not most excellent on this?
Not most excellent.
Okay, all right, but it could be most excellent, perhaps,
with potential of most excellence.
With potential.
Of OBE.
We like Keanu, but yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes. Surely it's a few years away, so we'll see if it even fucking happens anyway, too, because who knows? It's Warner Brothers after all, so
it might be one of the
J.J. Abrams attached.
It might be one of the three movies they make.
There's a whole separate article about like JJ's production deal with WB and how he's made fucking nothing in like 4 years, and they're like, "Are you gonna make anything, dude?" And he's like, "I don't know." So we'll see if this actually happens, if it gets off the ground. But
Jesus.
Hey, it could be something, certainly. All right, let's move on. Something I know that you are going to be excited for, because it is the next project from the director of The Northman, Robert Eggers. He's working on a reimagining of Nosferatu. A cinematic classic. And I think it's something that he's been working on for a long time. I feel like, yeah, it's described as a passion project of his that almost was going to be made in 2019. It originally had Anya Taylor-Joy and Harry Styles attached, actually. But they are not going to be in this iteration of Nosferatu. Instead, the lead roles will be played by Bill Skarsgard and Lily Rose Depp. So Eggers has written the script. He's writing the script. He's also directing. And it's going to be a gothic, quote unquote, a gothic tale of obsession between a haunted young woman in 19th century Germany and the ancient Transylvanian vampire who stalks her, bringing untold horror with him.
Nice.
Sound pretty fucking cool?
Yeah. So, couple fun facts in here.
Sure.
I've been reading a lot about Nosferatu. I've never watched it myself. I watched Salem's Lot, which is kind of like loosely, I think, inspired by it. But Nosferatu's largely inspired by Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula, which I've seen, I think, 2 or 3 iterations of. I've read the book. I like Bram Stoker's Dracula. What's really interesting about Nosferatu is it was made in the 1920s. It's a silent film, and I never put 2 and 2 together, but I was reading about it. And it's largely anti-Semitic. It seems like, from like the design of the character and whatnot. And I read somewhere that it's a German movie designed for Germans, and it seemed like the way that they have the this is all from the Wikipedia page. But from what little bit that I can discern from what I've seen and what I know of Nosferatu, it seems like a really interesting pre-World War II drama, or horror film, where they've put like a culture on the vampire. You know what I mean? And it's really it's interesting to like examine under that scope. Like, is that accurate? I don't know, because I haven't watched it. But it from what I've read and what I've seen, it's really interesting, because this is a huge piece of cinematic history. This is regarded as Nosferatu, the silent film, is. I'm surprised I haven't watched it, honestly. But yeah. Anyways, the director of the original film went on to direct one of the most critically acclaimed best movies ever in Hollywood. Whenever he moved from Germany to America, I think that was like A Tale of Two Humans or something like that, according to what I read. So there's a lot that I don't know. I was telling a coworker that my knowledge on film sharply starts declining like prior to the 70s. Like I know a little bit about the 70s, I know more about the 80s, but pre-70s it drops off real hard. So I, anytime I can get a little time reading about the stuff, I'm real excited about it. But I think that I am eager, at the very least, to have a Robert Eggers starring Bill Skarsgård. I don't know shit about Lily Rose Depp, but those
She's Johnny Depp's kid.
I got that. I gathered that. Yeah,
could have figured that out. I guess. Yeah, that's fair.
But those two in a vampire movie, you got Robert Eggers' vampire movie. I think I'm sold. I don't need a whole lot. If you want to reimagine Nosferatu, I think that's a big get, right? That's a tall shoes to fill. It's a pretty notorious film, not notorious, but renowned film. And I think it's I'm real. I think it's awesome news. Totally excellent, as we would say. OBE, motherfucker.
Yeah, this news gets an OBE. I'm very excited for it. Robert Eggers' sensibilities and a vampire like gothic like thing just totally feels like a perfect marriage. Bill Skarsgård, just if you told me he's actually a vampire, I'd believe you. So I think that's great casting.
At the same time, it makes you wonder why not just make Dracula? Not to cut you off, but why not just make a Dracula movie?
Well, I guess people always bemoan, I think, remakes, and you get a Dracula movie every few years, or you get a TV show or whatever, and sometimes he's like in the modern era, or he's whatever. True. Like they change it up a little bit, but I feel like it's tired. Nosferatu is a classic, and by the time this comes out, it will have been more than a literal century since that movie came out. Like that's a long time. You know what I mean? It's almost like an untouchable thing in a certain sort of way, which kind of makes it almost more like a scary prospect to even like think about like I'm capable of doing another one of these, and it could fall flat on its face, but it also could be
probably not.
It could be a completely different thing, and I think that's probably what it'll have to be, right? He's not going to make a silent movie. It's going to be a completely different thing, and in lesser hands, I might be worried, but I'm not. So I'm really excited to see what he pulls together with it. So I will grant this a most excellent rating as well. Very, very excellent, very exciting. Moving on, we're getting more Planet of the Apes movies.
Whoa, big news.
Yeah, big news. Yeah, they're continuing the franchise over at 20th Century. So obviously we Matt Reeves is off the franchise. He's busy with Batman stuff at this point. He's Batmaning about, crusading with the cape and such. And so this next one is going to be called Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. My understanding is that I think will still be a follow-on to that Apes trilogy that we got. Within the past decade or so. And the lead cast members of it are going to be Owen Teague, who's I think he was in like the first It. I'm not really familiar with a whole lot that he's done, to be honest. And with him will be Freya Allan, who plays Ciri in The Witcher. So those are your two. You got some younger performers, obviously leading the cast there. I'm assuming that they're playing humans, and there will be others playing the apes, would be my guess. I imagine that it will be similarly reliant on the mocap technology that they kind of really crafted and I think used to perfection in those Apes movies. And indeed, it will pick up many years after the conclusion of War for the Planet of the Apes. And it will be directed by Wes Ball, who directed The Maze Runner. Okay. What do you think? You think you're ready for some more Planet of the Apes? This one's also got a similarly very long-winded and a cumbersome title. So it's at least checking one box there.
Okay.
What do you think?
Read it off to me. Rattle it off. What's it called?
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Yes, which is in line with the naming scheme traditionally, but doesn't make it less of a mouthful.
I don't need it. I just don't need it. I mean, I like Planet of the Apes. I just don't need it. I don't want it.
I don't want it. This guy actually directed all of the Maze Runner movies.
Okay.
There were 3 of them, in case you were wondering.
I never watched any of them. I remember when they were sensational.
I have no idea if they're any good, so it's hard for me to really get a finger on the pulse here in terms of whether that's a good hire. But I think there's potential for Planet of the Apes to work. I think,
it seems very much like this is a different era of Planet of the Apes.
Yes.
Like we got,
I think it's going to be pretty detached. I would think they would have announced Andy Serkis's involvement in this if indeed he was going to be involved in some capacity. And I don't think that that's going to be the case, which I don't think, spoilers, I guess, for the Planet of the Apes, a movie that I think came out literally before this podcast started. I'm not sure that Caesar survived that film. I haven't seen it since then. But I think that this is absolutely a new era in Planet of the Apes, presumably when they've been more rooted as perhaps the dominant species of the planet, because I feel like even by the end of that film, it was still very much both species, I think, had firm rooting in the planet. It wasn't like the Marky Mark one where he comes back and everyone's been changed and there's Ape Lincoln statue and such. So, but this might be closer to that, where like society has really dramatically
changed,
evolved, and humans are completely outnumbered in such a massive way that it truly is a Planet of the Apes. I don't know. We'll see. It's the kingdom. It's the kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Then it at least has to have a kingdom of apes and subservient humans.
Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Happens.
Trailer will kind of sell it, right?
That's right.
Or not sell it. Have the opposite effect, perhaps.
We've seen a few of those, so we'll see.
All right, so we'll say it's somewhat. We'll say it's fine. It's somewhat excellent. Excellent in the way that a TED could use it, I guess. Ted Theodore Logan could use it. One Theodore Logan could use it. So we shall move on to some news, which I think is most excellent, and perhaps you will as well, because it is expanding the Duneverse, the Dune universe. Yeah. Hiya! And I think we'll be hearing a lot of those soundscapes for a project like this for a prequel series called Dune: The Sisterhood.
Okay.
Which is set to begin production next month. Casting has been announced to some extent for it. Emily Watson, Shirley Henderson, and Indira Varma have all been announced as being part of this cast, and this will be set 10,000 years before the ascension of Paul Atreides, and will follow the Harkonnen sisters as they combat forces that threaten the future of humankind and establish the fabled sect known as the Bene Gesserit. So
that sounds incredibly badass. That's
like super duper prequel series. This is no Game of Thrones business. This is going way back.
You already made the connection for me. I mean, like, it got you and Enrique trying to convince me to watch the House of the Dragon. It's like, it's only like 200 years ago, Go further back or go way ahead. History. Yeah, like go same thing with Star Wars. Go far back or go way ahead. You know what I mean? Go somewhere else. Well, Dune apparently is doing just that, and it sounds fucking cool. So most excellent. I'm most excellent. Very excited about this.
I'll say most excellent as well. I already did, I guess, but I'm reiterating it. I think the only thing that perhaps could cause concern, and it really depends on how closely they adhere to the material, and I guess your opinions on the material, is this is pulling from stuff that is after the Frank Herbert era of Dune. This is when his kid takes over, and I feel like
it gets
the
a little
general
sketchy.
Consensus is that people don't really like it as much as when his dad did it. But I think also his dad's work was also on a trajectory of getting more far out and fucking bonkers as it went on too. So, there are ways to adapt anything, surely. So I think it really just depends on what they're doing with the vision. I mean,
this seems much more.
The premise sounds really fucking cool. So that sells me on it, honestly.
Yeah, I was going to say this sounds much more like a drama, much more of like a espionage, much more like it doesn't sound as. I don't think we have people turning into Dune worms here, like we have in the books. So I think
perhaps not.
I think it'll probably be serviceable. It'll probably be okay.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds like it's going to be very female heavy in terms of presence, which is interesting. I mean, obviously, Dune is you know, like you have some good female characters in there certainly, but it's not really about the women, so to speak. Whereas this very much seems to be, and I think its showrunner is a woman. I think some of the writers on it are women. So, you know, I think it'll have a...
I just hope they have the sensibilities of Denny. I mean...
He's Denny is executive producing it. Maybe I buried the lead. But he's involved, you know. I think they'll try to keep them, you know...
Feeling, just hope he has a thumb
like they belong together.
Exactly, right. He had such a vision with Dune. It was incredible. What an incredible movie that movie was. I need to rewatch it. It was so good.
I think I've watched it once at home when I got the 4K. It's a good one. It's a good one.
It's an experience. It's a heavy movie for sure.
It's you gotta carve out a few hours. You know, it's one of those, but worth it when you do. So yeah, Dune: The Sisterhood is coming. I think it's an HBO Max series that it'll eventually be. So shooting next month, and probably getting it probably around the same time as part 2. I would guess. You know, probably keep them together. You know, some Dune synergy might be good. So yeah, we have that to look forward to. It's most excellent. We'll finish the news before we get into some trailers with some casting news as well for the next Agatha Christie adaptation. Now, I don't think either of us ended up watching the last one that came out. Death on the Nile. I still haven't seen it. I think it's been...
I've seen it.
You have? Oh, you have seen it. Okay. Was it any good? I don't remember you talking about it. You might have. I honestly don't know.
Maybe I never did. I watched it. I feel like I watched it around Sarah's bridal shower.
No, maybe you did watch. Maybe you did talk about it. I could just be blanking on it. Not sure.
I thought it was serviceable. It didn't like blow my socks off like the first one did. I remember the first one pretty highly.
The second one was there. Mustache was present. Yeah.
Mustache was there. I think it was an entertaining whodunit, and I don't know. They have a character about them. These movies, at least the last two, that are larger than life and kind of just like I don't know. They're just entertaining to watch. They have a lot of flair and self-awareness. I think that makes them very entertaining. I like them. So I don't know if they're the best movies ever made. I don't think that they're a not Glass Onion, but what am I looking for here?
Knives Out.
I don't think it's a Knives Out as far as like, you know, the technical prowess that Knives Out has. Okay. But they are entertaining nonetheless, and they have a lot of character and a lot of flair. So I enjoy them. Same thing with the second movie. And hopefully with the third. I didn't know they announced a third, so this is pretty cool news.
Yeah, this was news to me as well. So here's the deal. What's going on with it? It's based off of the Agatha Christie book Halloween Party, but it has been renamed, and I think perhaps for the best, to A Haunting in Venice.
Big difference in the name.
Yeah, it feels a little bit more in line with the other ones. Similar vibes for sure. Kenneth Branagh is back. He's directing. He's also back as Hercule Poirot. The mustache will almost certainly be there as well. And the cast will include, I think, some of the bigger names. I'll just shout them out. Include Jamie Dornan, Tina Fey, Kelly Riley, and Michelle Yeoh. So he's assembled another good cast for this one from the looks of it. And Jude Hill, who's the kid in Belfast. If I don't think you've seen that one, but worth watching. And the kid was very, very good in that. So clearly he had a good time because that's what Branagh worked on as well. So it's going to be set in post-World War II Venice on All Hallows Eve. It'll be a terrifying mystery featuring the return of Hercule Poirot, who's retired, living in self-imposed exile. When he attends a seance at a decaying haunted palazzo, one of the guests ends up murdered. What do you know? Mr. Inspector Poirot must be thrust into a sinister world of shadows and secrets at that point. So that's what you have. That's what you have to look forward to with the continuing Agatha Christie verse, courtesy of Kenneth Branagh.
It's got the girl from... it's got that lady from Yellowstone in it.
Yes, Kelly Riley. Yep.
Kelly Riley. It would appear to me like well, I guess we know who's winning, right? I mean, like, you have these large scale, like, let's show, I mean, you have these different clues, as in like the board game, where we have all these different people. And this is the cast that you get for Kenneth's movie, the Agatha Christie shows, and then you have the $500 million on Netflix, and this is who we get for this show. And I'm not going to tell you that one seems like a knockoff, like one seems like Walmart brand or Members Mark, but one kind of seems like Members Mark. Is that bad? Is that bad to say?
Are you saying, like, in terms of the quality of the cast, or what specifically?
Yeah, it's just like,
well, it just
I'm not gonna say quality of the cast, because I think all of these cast members are very talented in their own right. But
it's like, if you like compared the grids, like if you just put the faces next to each other, like one of these seems a little more A-list, is what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. One seems.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Knives Out had a fucking stellar cast, but I feel like, particularly for the sequel, it was probably people like lining up like around the door to be in it. And I don't think necessarily the same is true here. I don't think.
And this is the third one, to be fair.
It's the third one, but I think even the second one had probably a worse cast overall, I think, than the first one, or, less
It's
stacked on the whole.
It's slowly padding off.
It's a real Narnia sort of situation where it's like, all right, well, they did Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Does anyone care anymore? The answer was apparently no. No disrespect to those books. I think people are big fans of those books for good reason, but yeah, it does kind of feel like what's.
Like, I feel bad because I think we'll get an entertaining movie.
Hey, as long as they're all talented performers, and from the ones that I do know, I've enjoyed them. And I mean, like, fucking Michelle Yeoh is incredible. She just crushed it in Everything Everywhere All at Once. So I think there's some good names in here. It's just not quite as star-studded, I think, overall, as a Knives Out or a Glass Onion type cast.
And it's funny because they came out like the same time, I think. Anyways, at least with my,
I think that's kind of part of the problem is like,
we have these two movies. Which one?
Like they probably honestly are spaced out in terms of release, but like the excitement levels, like I feel like Death in the Nile had not a lot of traction.
It's true. Yeah.
So anyway. And that's it for the news. So we'll move on to the trailers. So the first trailer we have is actually a teaser, an official teaser for a film called White Noise from director Noah Baumbach, starring Adam Driver, coming to Netflix at some point in the future, November 25th. My sources tell me. My sources being Wikipedia. I think this is a teaser that is a true teaser in the sense that I think you get a sense of the vibe of it without getting any real plot details. So I'm curious what your take is on this, based on what little you were able to gather from it.
Is it an Alien? Is it an Alien show?
I don't think it's Aliens. It's a movie as well. It's based off of a 1985 novel Do you want me to tell you a little bit more? Or do you want to preserve any sort of suspense?
Tell me what this is about. Yeah, no, I'll take it. I'll take it.
All right, so it's about a professor who is torn asunder by quote unquote the airborne toxic event, which is a cataclysmic train accident that casts chemical waste over the town. So that's what the log line kind of describes it as. Again, I don't think you get any of that out of this teaser, but you certainly get style. I think overall,
for sure, yeah. No, it looks.
Its genre is described as an apocalyptic black comedy. So that might give you a little guidance as well.
An apocalyptic black comedy. That even sounds more intriguing.
Yeah, I think so too.
No, all those things coming together sound very intriguing. Most excellent. Very excited.
Okay. Most excellent. Yeah. It's got. When I read, it's funny. I basically put it in the script before I actually watched the trailer because I opened it up on Wikipedia and I was like, apocalyptic black comedy. That seems kind of horror-ish, and I don't think it's really quite that. But it's got some, I don't know, some uneasy vibes, I think. So I'm interested to see how it turns out. I feel like there's a bunch of movies recently that are just like, let's see how ridiculous we can make Adam Driver look, and this one is no exception. We're just gonna fuck with this man's hairline and see what happens. No regrets. So
that's it. Yeah. No.
Yeah, I think the hopefully that maybe they'll cast him in House of the Dragon season 2 and chuck him in one of those wigs too. I think that would really complete the saga.
Stop it! I'm already having a hard enough time.
But yeah, looking forward to this one. It's about a Thanksgiving drop. I take it back. It will get a theatrical release November 25th, before its streaming release on December 30th. So I assume it'll be a limited theatrical release, similar to what's happening with Glass Onion. But cool that they're doing that. I appreciate that Netflix is at least putting some small amount of effort of putting films that look like they might deserve cinematic releases into cinemas. So there's that. Moving on. M. Night Shyamalan. He's back with more.
This fucking guy.
We didn't watch The Beach That Makes You Old, but by all accounts, it was not very good. From what I could gather, and quite dumb, in fact, which kind of par for the course of what this guy does. But he's back and he's knocking. He's knocking at the cabin and Knock at the Cabin, which we got an official trailer for, and it does have Dave Bautista in it. So that's I think something. What do you think? We got this trailer for it. Is it spooky? Is it what's going on? It's also sort of apocalyptic, right? We're starting out with some apocalyptic type things here.
I don't think we were on the connected on the Discord when I watched this trailer.
I don't think so. So I would have heard some reactions, is what you're saying? Yeah, like implying perhaps.
Like I felt okay. You got the guy from Hamilton in here.
You'll be back.
Yes,
Jonathan Groff / Mindhunter as well.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see him. He looks like he's doing good. It's whatever.
/ Frozen and Frozen 2.
Yep, they show pp in the cabin.
/ The Matrix.
We don't talk about that. That's a repressed memory. We don't talk about that.
All right, where we put him in with Bruno. Okay, noted.
And then some big dudes trekking through the forest. Okay, I see what we're going for here.
Who's this big burly man? What's he doing?
Oh, we don't know what he's doing. And then we find out it's an M. Night Shyamalan movie. It's like, okay. And then literally like the next thing is like Batista in his stupid fucking glasses. You have a choice to make. We're here because it's the end of the world. It's like, God damn it, Shyamalan, stop it. You always do this shit. It's the end of the world. It's the end of the world. Make a decision. It's all.
Turns out,
only a Sith. Only a Sith deals in absolutes. And Shyamalan's always coming around with his end of the world bullshit. Make a choice. You could drink this water, but you don't like water because it's got dust in it. Well, come to find out that kills the aliens, you know, and then these trees are trying to kill everybody and everybody's committing suicide because of the trees. I just kind of had enough of M. Night Shyamalan.
Even you go to the beach, the apocalypse happens.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen it.
I don't think that's actually how it goes, but it might as well be.
We can watch it. We can have a discussion. It's your personal
apocalypse. It's like a metaphor because you get old and you die.
I mean, we can watch it and see how it is.
Well, it depends on what else comes out around this time. February 3rd of 2023.
We can have a Shyamalan show. Maybe we'll just watch.
We'll just make it a month of Shyamalan. We're going to go right in order. Fortunately, we've already knocked off, I think, a few of them when we did Glass, so we can skip those.
Yes.
But yeah, we can go right down in order. That sounds like one of the worst things that would probably prompt me to stop doing this podcast altogether, I think. Like I'd get about halfway through and say, you know what? I'm putting my foot down. I'm done. You take the reins. You figure out how to edit this shit. I'm not doing it anymore.
I'm done. I'm not terribly excited about this movie.
It looks a bit dumb. And it's, well, one thing I think that perhaps, I wonder if this might work in its favor is that it's based off of a book which is not written by M. Night Shyamalan, but I think that The Beach That Makes You Old was based off a graphic novel, and I think they changed a lot of shit from that, from what I understand, and made it worse. So
he takes a lot of liberties. Is what you're saying? Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah, he wrote a screenplay himself. So it's, you know, he wrote a screenplay from a draft written by other people, which is based on something else. So I think there was probably a long game of telephone that probably happened in the making of the film. So it's probably not exactly a straight adaptation. But
at 2 minutes into this trailer, and they have Batista trying to look like a small man compared to all the other people. I just, you know,
he's like putting his arms together. He's like, they won't notice that I'm 7 feet wide if I scrunch together a little bit.
Yeah. Then everybody else is like 2 heads smaller than him.
Uh-huh.
We're here because it's the end of the world. It's like, oh my God, dude, you just find a different fucking angle, right? It's always the end of the world with you. It's always the end of the world with you, Shyamalan. Just find something new. Anyways, I digress. I'm not a fan of Shyamalan. He's...
Yeah, well, I gathered as much. And well, to be honest, nor am I. So it's coming out. It's, I mean, you know, there's another trailer in here that's also going to be interesting to talk about, much like this one, I'll say. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, what is it? Let's talk about it.
Not most excellent. Well, it's not the next one we're talking about. The next one I think is very much not in the horror realm at all. But I had to find room for it somewhere, and so here it is. It is Steven Spielberg's next film called The Fabelmans, which stars Michelle Williams, Paul Dano, and Seth Rogen. And I think that I feel like it's supposed to be like semi-autobiographical in some sort of ways. You know, it's a movie about being inspired to make movies and whatnot. Yes, it's loosely based off of Spielberg's early life, told through an original story. And it's, you know, it's a screenplay co-written by Steven Spielberg. So you know, it looks very Spielbergian in terms of the way it's directed. And I think it looks interesting. I think it's gotten some early screenings, possibly at I don't know if they had it at a festival or anything, but the early reviews are pretty good for it. And it's you know, it's coming out in about a month or so. So I don't know. What do you think? How are you feeling about it?
I thought it looked pretty good. Yeah. I agree with you. It seems like it's very Spielbergy.
As a Spielberg movie ought to be, surely, you know.
It does make me think how, like, in the trailer anyways, you got these kids being persecuted by like, hey, what you're doing is a pipe dream, this and that, right? The narrative is completely different in the 21st century with TikTok and everything else, and like, you know, what the kids are doing these days. And it really got me thinking about how how times have kind of changed. Like, it feels like this is a movie very much rooted in the past, and just like it, because times have completely changed, and it's obviously a period piece, but
everyone's a filmmaker now.
Everyone is a filmmaker now, right? Exactly, and it kind of, I don't know. The trailer alone got me kind of
in your hands.
Kind of got me really thinking, how times have changed, and how when a 70-year-old TikToker is behind the helm of a camera, what's he gonna make, right? Like, what's that movie look like? And it's interesting. Anyways, I think the movie looks like it's probably pretty intriguing to watch. It looks like it's thought invoking. It looks like it's from the heart. And Spielberg is when he shows up with the movie, I think he's one that you watch. So yeah, that's what I got on that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think just the cinematography looks really nice. I think it just looks like a well-directed and a nice, like, heartfelt story. And that's something that Spielberg has delivered time and time again. And I think when he's drawing from source material that is memories, like, I think that's actually interesting. It's like a nice wrinkle. It's it's a fun thing for it to kind of be that. So I'm looking forward to it. It feels like it could be a good Spielberg film. Looking forward to it. So I'll give it a most excellent. Just because I think he would really appreciate that touch of me saying that about it. That's what I said about his childhood. That's what the TikTok generation would say about Steven Spielberg's childhood. I'll tell you that right now. Feels right. Just feels perfect. All right, 2 more trailers. And then we're finishing off with some spooky ones. That way we can transition most effectively into Halloween.
Okay. What do we got?
The first one is a Netflix series from the imagination of Tim Burton and his zany hair. He never combs it. Why? Because he's crazy, man. It's his take on the Addams Family. The series is called Wednesday. It stars Jenna Ortega as Wednesday Addams, alongside Catherine Zeta-Jones, Luis Guzman, Gwendolyn Christie, and a fun role for Christina Ricci at the end there. It's Wednesday's time at the Nevermore Academy. She's a student at this academy with big spooky people and other spooky people doing spooky things. It's dun-dun-dun-dun. I'm sure it'll be in there somewhere,
Yeah, so they didn't want to do it in the fucking trailer. They play painted black.
Yeah.
They got to paint it black. Everything's got to be fucking painted black.
I was like, wasn't that fucking Westworld too? It was in fucking everything, man.
Yeah. Well, hey, they like black. We gotta paint it black. That's what we gotta do. No, you have a really black, fucking awesome. She's got an awesome fucking theme song. Fucking lean into it, dude. It's an excellent, memorable thing. And if you can't find a way to integrate that thing into your trailer, then you don't need to be making trailers. That's what I say, right? Integrate the shit out of that. It's memorable. Everybody knows it. Anyways, I digress.
Maybe it's deliberate. It's like, this isn't the Addams Family. This is Wednesday.
And they tried to, they did it in the beginning of the trailer and in the trailer, but they kind of did the but then they morphed it into Paint It Black. And that's kind of what made me even more furious. Anyways, music of the trailer aside, I like Addams Family. I grew up with a different Addams Family, obviously, than this. But I didn't grow up with the original Addams Family. I grew up with Richie's Addams Family, Christina Ricci's. And I watched it a bunch as a kid. I liked it. I liked it a lot. Like Addams Family. And it's got I don't even know where I saw it at. I can't remember because it definitely doesn't seem like my mom and my stepdad would have liked that movie. So I'm not quite sure where I saw it from. Anyways, but I remember watching it a bunch. So it's got some nostalgia for me. And this looks a little bit over the top. At the same time, it looks like it could be entertaining. So I really don't know how to feel about this. It kind of reminds me of that Jim Carrey movie that he made with the books with the what's the orphans, the orphans,
a series of unfortunate events.
Yes, that's what this reminds me of. Like, it's like over the top. It could be good, it could be bad. I'm not quite sure. We'll see where it goes. I hope it's good. I like who plays Wednesday. So we'll see. It could be very bad. I will watch it, and it won't take a whole lot for it to slip into very bad territory. But I would like it to be good.
Yeah, I like the style of it. The cast, I think, seems pretty good overall. I am just wondering, is this going to sustain my interest for an entire season's worth of content? Like, what, where does it go? Is that interesting enough for me to care? And maybe it's just not for me. Maybe that's what it'll end up being. And it's not so much that it's bad, so much as it's just not a thing for me. But I don't know. It's not jumping to the top of my list of things that I absolutely need to watch, but I'll remain cautiously optimistic about it. Maybe it'll be something interesting, and we'll see. We'll see, I guess. It is coming out Wednesday, November 23rd. I looked it up just to make sure that it was on a Wednesday. Otherwise, you're going to say I'm not watching it because Netflix can fuck off with how they've managed to bungle that. But they did do the bare minimum, and so I will credit them for that. So I'll give it a somewhat excellent. And then we'll end with a doozy, I think. The official trailer for M3gan. I'm sorry, Megan.
M3gan.
M3gan, as I'm going to call it. Where to begin? I think we should begin with... I just want to say, because I think you had the similar experience of watching Halloween Ends on Peacock, and I don't know if you noticed, but like mine started with like a presented by Megan thing, and if you paused at any point, I don't know if you paused it. I had to pause it a lot because I needed to. But it's like Halloween Ends presented by Megan, and there's like a link to like fucking watch the trailer for it and stuff like that. I'm like, they're really going hard on attaching this to Halloween. They're like, this has got to ride the coattails, when I think it's already kind of taken a life of its own on the internet because it looks absolutely fucked in many ways. So how are you feeling about M3gan?
M3gan just reminds me of like a Chucky that does TikTok dances.
This is from a TikTok. Well, I think is it from fucking James Wan? I don't know if he's actually directing it.
I don't know.
It feels like he's not. Like, he's producing it, and then he's got one of his the TikTok generation to direct it.
There's like a sequence at the end where she's like murdering all these people, and she's like straight up just like, yeah, 2 minutes and 4 seconds in, she's just like, oh, like when she's walking down the hall.
Oh, Christ Almighty!
It's ridiculous. I laughed a lot.
Yeah, I did too. I mean, I don't think it's intended to be a straight up like horror comedy or anything like that, but it absolutely reads that way, I think, right now. I mean, because it's just like Chucky, I think, rides the line, right? Like, obviously like the later like Child's Play Chucky stuff got like increasingly more ridiculous to the point, like I think it really was leaning into it being kind of silly, but it didn't start that way. It started as like killer doll who's fucking creepy and, menacing. And this is like killer robot who's creepy, but just absolutely fucked looking. Like, not menacing. It just in like a...
It's like Alita. It's like the only Alita in like the human place, though.
I mean, I will say, and I think this is probably somewhat the intent, genuinely unsettling to look at. Just horrifying to look at.
No, for
just
sure.
Everything about it,
especially when she runs
makes
off
you want to shut
fours.
your brain off. Yeah, doing that. So I mean, it's just hard to look at, I think, in a literal sense.
It's a ridiculous. I'm watching the trailer again. I'm fast forwarded to the end.
Yeah, we're gonna watch the dance stuff again. All right, we'll watch that. We'll sync that up.
All right, yeah.
Oh, I think I'm not quite. Oh, there it is. There it is. Yep, 203. Everyone, watch.
So you do 202, and then you're at 203.
Oh God. Oh.
I can't. It's.
Oh man.
Oh God, my stomach hurts.
M3gan. Only in theaters January 13th.
Hey, I gotta tell you, I'm kind of interested to watch it. I mean, it looks like I could laugh very hard. Like it looks like a laughable horror movie, and that's okay too. We get those.
But will you go to a theater to watch it?
I prefer to watch it at my house. Be honest with you, but
okay. Well, you might not have a choice unless you wait. I don't know. Then all the spoilers of M3gan will be on the internet for you.
But I mean, if we decide we're trying to do a more regular deal, if we decide that we have to go to the theaters to watch M3gan, well, I guess I'm going to watch M3gan in theaters. So we'll see.
All right, M3gan it is. I guess we'll see. We'll see what's coming out. It's January 13th. You know, we'll probably be back from holiday and stuff.
What a ridiculous fucking movie! That looks her dancing in the hallway is fucking absurd. Who thought of that? Oh, hey, let's just have her fucking dance.
I'm telling you, TikTok generation right there. Directed by Gerard Johnstone. It's a fake name. I'm just telling you right now. But I'm guaranteeing this guy is under 30. He's under 30 years old. He's a TikToker. He's for sure a TikToker.
Jesus.
That's all I know.
All right, we made it through the news.
We made it through the news. Now we have to do that part where we talk about Halloween Ends. And so, let's talk about it. Halloween Ends is in theaters right now. It is also streaming on Peacock. It is written by way too many fucking people for this movie. Paul Brad Logan, Chris Bernier, Danny McBride, and David Gordon Green. Directed by David Gordon Green. Stars Jamie Lee Curtis, Andy Matichak, James Jude Courtney, Will Patton, Rowan Campbell, and Kyle Richards. The saga of Michael Myers and Laurie Strode comes to a spine-chilling climax in the final installment of this trilogy, if you manage to make it through the first hour and a half to get to that point. Oh, is that a spoiler? Sorry. Box office breakdown?
Yeah, let's get to it. Wah, wah, wah.
Box office breakdown.
So Halloween Ends was expected to come in around $50 plus million at the opening weekend, but it did not. It went under expectations with a $41 million debut.
With a $1 million debut? Are you serious?
$41 million.
Oh, okay.
$1 million would be quite underwhelming. I think that heads would be rolling, probably quite literally. There would be a Michael Myers-esque killing spree happening over at Universal and Blumhouse and whatever else was involved in this. Yeah, no, I mean it's pretty underwhelming. But it has good numbers on Peacock, from what it sounds like. So the thinking is, well, the fact that it came out on streaming probably took away from the theatrical numbers, and I think that that's probably pretty sound logic, because I didn't see it in a theater, and I'm glad I didn't. But at the same time, I'm glad it was on Peacock, because I think that made... I got to pause the movie, as I said, several times, and take bathroom breaks, and grab a beer halfway through, and I'm like, oh man, I cannot do this sober anymore. So it still did all right, I think, for what it is. It's not like the movie cost a lot of money to make, probably just, I think, 30 million-ish budget, something like that. 20 to 30 is what Wikipedia puts it at. So it's fine. It's going to make money. It'll be no problem. I'm sure we'll get another Halloween at some point, even though Halloween has allegedly ended. But that's the box office for it. And now let's talk about the film itself. Did you enjoy it as much as I did?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Okay.
Which is to say, I did not enjoy it much at all. Okay. I thought it was. Yes. I thought it was a I'll be honest with you. When I watch things and I think things are egregiously bad or totally fucking awesome, I always get worried, right? Because I'm on one polarized side. Like, am I completely wrong about this?
Yeah.
Then that's always my fear. Like, I enjoyed one horror movie of this season quite a bit, and we haven't talked about it a whole lot. And Sarah kind of told me, like, she's like, it wasn't that good. Like, I didn't think it was that good. It's like, no, I totally fucking like that thing a whole lot. And we'll talk about it eventually.
Soon.
And I always get worried. I don't know. Like, are my opinions not valid? And I did not enjoy this movie. I did not enjoy this movie at all. Like, I thought it was real bad. I heard your opinions about the second movie, which I completely avoided. I never watched it.
Yes. Oh, yes. Thank you for bringing that up, because I did watch that movie, so I have a frame of reference to compare it to. But I mean,
it bad?
As well, it's a really bad film. Yes, and I'll get more into the comparison points when I don't want to completely just hog the mic for the next 5 minutes, because I probably will when I get to that point. But I am curious. Did you feel like you missed anything?
No, not really. No,
you didn't. You didn't, is what I'll say. You didn't. You didn't miss a fucking thing. So, except for a certain character dying, but they give you that in the first 15 minutes. So that's the difference. There's a character that's in the first Halloween, the 2018 Halloween, that's not in this one, and that character died in Halloween Kills. That's it. Okay, that's the takeaway of Halloween Kills, the short version of it. But
no, I don't remember that. So I don't remember those characters, not a whole lot anyways. I just remember I remember Michael Myers standing in his like penitentiary, and then he escapes.
Right.
Which is pretty cool.
And Laurie is like, she's like fucking Sarah Connor. She's like strapped to the fucking teeth, ready to fucking murder that motherfucker. So.
Right, and all that was very cool in the first movie. I remember all that. It was very awesome. Second movie I never watched, and then I watched this one, and man, there's a lot of weird shit going on in this movie. I'm not quite sure what happens or how it happens or anything else. We'll talk about it in spoilers, but none of it connected. And it was kind of long. I felt like it was kind of long.
It's a fucking slog of a movie. It's
yeah, I thought so too.
It's painfully boring for at least the first hour. I think that,
and the thing is,
sort of figures out a thing to do at a certain point, but my God, does it take a long time to get there?
Like I've watched 2 good horror movies so far this season, and both of those, like, even if you don't like those horror movies, either one, and I'm being vague on purpose, but even if you don't like a particular movie or what have you, and even if you think the pacing might be off, at least it's filled with something that makes you feel a certain way, right? Like, if it's super gory, or if it's super intense, or if it's this or that, it can be heavy for a long time. And you're like, oh man, it's a really fucking intense movie, or it's really heavy. But this movie is just, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you got this guy like around in the junkyard or whatever, or like he's in the sewer, and he's not in the sewer, he's getting picked on. He's at the gas station, he's got glass in his hand. I don't know, what the fuck's going on? He's just trying to bone this guy's daughter, I guess.
It's a lot of what is this building to?
Right.
And it does build to something. Whether that something is good or not is a separate question that we'll delve into in spoilers. I think we can probably surmise our answer based on the general tenor of this conversation thus far. But again, I think it spends a literal fucking hour with all of that. It's not a long movie, and the fact that it's under 2 hours.
It feels long.
But it feels about 3 times as long as it actually is, because it just feels like it's going nowhere for quite literally more than half of its runtime. And it feels like, they didn't know what they were doing. And they just I don't know that it was so much that they made it up as they went, so much as they kind of smashed two different movies into one or something. Like,
is that what they did?
Really, I don't know if it's literally what they did, but it feels so... I don't know. I mean, I remember when they originally announced Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends were going to be, the continuations to the 2018 sequel. And I think at one point they were going to be filmed back to back, and then that didn't happen, I think largely because of COVID. And so I think that kind of forced them to make them separately. And it feels like instead of it being a connective tissue between all of them, that they really went back to the drawing board. I think particularly for this film, because I think Halloween Kills, to get to the point now, takes place the same night as that other one. Basically, it just follows immediately after the events of that, because at the end of the first one, or the second one, whatever, the first one in this trilogy, we'll say, they trap Michael Myers in the burning house, and they drive away, and, we think he's dead, but just kidding, he's not dead, because he's Michael Myers, and he's invincible, and so he escapes the burning house, and he kills a bunch of people, and he kills Laurie's daughter. And then that's the movie. That's quite literally the entire movie. It's an hour and a half of just gory mayhem. And it feels like a slasher movie, like a straight-up kind of slasher movie where people are just getting butchered left and right. The town is, like, working themselves up to a frenzy, like, we're going to hunt Michael Myers, like, evil dies tonight, evil dies tonight, evil dies tonight. That's the fucking movie of Halloween Kills. And then it's like a shitty version of that. Like, I'm probably making it sound better than it actually is. But at least it kind of, it was just a self-contained hour and a half slasher that had some, fun kills in it. And it was, overall pointless. Didn't really serve a huge purpose in terms of moving the story forward other than, like I said, one major character being killed. Because, like, Laurie's just stuck in a hospital bed the whole time because she got super fucked up in the other movie. So, like, it's kind of nothing. It's kind of nothing in terms of, like, moving the plot forward. But, like I said, it's fine. It's fine. It's like it's a poorly made, shitty film, and it's actively sucks. But I look back on it fondly now.
Oh, no good.
Like this one went back to the drawing board, yes. But they did something worse, I think, of just making something that is so separated and fucking boring, and just feels detached in a bad way, and not satisfying in any way. And I think, again, it kind of eventually, I guess, goes to that, final confrontation, blah, blah, blah kind of thing. But by the time it gets there, I'm done with this film. An hour and a half have gone by, and I'm fucking bored to tears, and I'm just ready for it to be over. Like, just someone needs to die. Evil needs to die tonight for realsies. Like, I'm done. I'm fucking done. I literally watched this today. I gotta record a podcast. I gotta be done with this. I need to watch this shit on 1.5 speed if I need to, so I didn't. But it's bad. And, I think, and it just feels like they didn't have a clear direction from doing the sequel, which felt like a really, really solid follow-up to that original. It was like, we're chucking out all the other sequels because they're dog shit, and we're going to make our own thing, and it's going to be, like, super tight and connected, and, it's 40 years later, and Laurie's a fucking badass, Sarah Connor-esque kind of character. And then they just kind of made two more shitty sequels, perfectly in line with what had come before, and it feels like you've lost all the goodwill you had there. You should have left it at that if you were just going to pull this shit, because it just felt like, why would you announce you're making 2 more films if you don't know how you're going to do them? If you're not going to spend the time figuring out how do we do this? Like, what's interesting? What do we do next? Like, they tried to do something different with this one, so I'll give them credit for that. But they fucking failed miserably at it, is what I would say. So, anyway, rant over.
We can get into the recommendations if you like.
Yeah, we'll do recommendations because I think we can talk a lot about spoilers, and I think that'll really. I'll tell you how I really feel beyond the fact of what I already said. So recommendations. I mean, I think it's going to be a shithouse for me. What about you? Do you think is it quite in shithouse tier? Or is it above there, you think? Do you think it's a fine? Do you think it's above shithouse? Where
no, I think it's personally, I think it's shithouse. It was
I think it's shithouse, yeah.
It was a pretty rough. Don't get me wrong, okay? It was not Hellboy.
No, it's not. It's not Hellboy. It's not A Wrinkle in Time. It's not Inhumans. It's not the shittiest of the shithouse. But I think overall, it's and I will say, once it does find the point, it's far more entertaining.
But it doesn't make it any less stupid. Like, it was a very stupid movie.
It's still dumb. It almost morphs closer to Halloween Kills, where like, oh my god, this is the dumbest thing in the world. But at least it was entertaining to watch because it was so stupid and like, you know, like there was something to watch. And this, it was just an hour of, why are we here? And then followed by 50 minutes of, okay, I guess, you know, like, I guess that's fine. You're doing that. I mean, it's better than what came before. I guess I'll take it at this point, but it's not good. None of it's good. Yeah, I think it's shithouse. I mean, yeah, it's not the worst of the worst, but it's just kind of nothing, you know? And I think that's the biggest insult is that they almost took, I felt like they kind of took a bigger swing for the fences than I think that they had with the prior one. And they like not only struck out, but they also managed to shit their pants while doing it. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, the biggest thing is like, I mean, if you make you have a decent concept of how to make a horror movie. Like, you don't need to make it anything more than what it is. Right? Can we segue to spoilers? Let's just go into spoilers. I think this is
sure, full spoilers for Halloween Ends.
I think it's a higher tier shithouse film is what I would say.
So it's a higher tier shithouse, yes. Than other shithouse films or TV shows that we've covered. I agree.
So going into the spoilers, you don't have to reinvent the wheel here, right? You got this guy that wears his mask and he stabs people and like maybe he's kind of like indestructible or whatever. Okay, but we don't dwell on that. We're just looking for a scary movie, right? You got this kid who wanders into the sewers and he chokes this guy and then all of a sudden he turns into Michael Myers and it's just like, I thought we tried this like in the 80s, maybe in the 90s with like all the other movies. I think we like, this feels like retreaded territory and it always sucks. And guess what? It sucks really bad right here too. You know, like he kicked the door open when he was a kid and the door flew open and the kid flew off the fucking third floor to the house and landed in the fucking thing. And now he meets like this girl at a bar and I don't know, like the whole thing just seems just
it's quite dumb and not.
He's like, I'm gonna choke you, but I'm not gonna kill you. Oh no, I want to fucking kill people with you. Dude. The
whole thing,
I didn't get it.
Just doesn't feel well thought out in any way. Like none of it really makes any sense when you think about it. Like these people don't feel like people. Michael Myers feels out of character for Michael Myers. What's going on with this fucking Corey character? Like, just what was the intent? What was the message? What was the point? Why is Laurie the way that she is now, which is completely diametrically opposed to anything that would make sense as a logical outcome of what had happened in the prior two? Why is her granddaughter obsessed with this fucking guy for no reason whatsoever? He literally walks into the doctor's office and she's like, "I'm gonna fuck this man to death." Like that's her characterization in this movie is, holy shit, I love this guy. He walked into my life and I fucking love him. I don't give a shit about anything. He's damaged, but I love that about him. It makes him even cooler. Like but there's no explanation for any of that. There's no chemistry between the two. There's no anything. There's no, like, it feels like, I mean, so much of this movie just feels like a poorly scripted thing. I mean, obviously it is. I mean, it's literally what it is, of course, but like, no connective tissue. There's no flow to it. Like, almost it feels like this film just feels so fucking shoved up its own ass.
It's forced. It all feels so forced.
It feels really forced. It's like well, we did the thing last time where Michael Myers was just a murder machine, and like we're not going to do that again, even though that's what audiences just come to these fucking movies for. They eat that shit up, you know. And that, like, you're right. You don't need to reinvent the wheel, right? Like, Michael Myers kills some people, and if you want to keep the exact same ending where this is the one time we're going to fucking pulverize Michael Myers and run him through a fucking industrial shredder, then fine.
Do it. Yeah.
Fine. You know,
which I think they did that, didn't they? Is that what he fell into or something?
Well, that's what they put him in. I mean, they fucking have a whole procession for his body, you know, at the end of this movie, which is ridiculous. And
it's so fucking, it's so rough.
I don't know. Like, that's almost the thing. Like, I'm like, you know what? Michael Myers, he's debatably, you know, he's debatedly supernatural. Halloween Kills almost seems to lean into the fact that he is, and then this one is like, nah, he's just some old fuck, you know,
he's like living in the sewers and shit.
Yeah, but he's like living in the sewers for like 4 years. Like, what's he doing down there? Is he killing people? Like, it's sort of implied that he is, but then like, you know, this kid comes in and he has a 1 minute flashback to everything that happened to Michael Myers, and now he's evil. The evil is in his eyes. I looked into his eyes and I saw the evil, and that wasn't there before. I saw this kid when he was my babysitter, and now I looked at him again, and now he's evil. He's evil.
You're talking about the guy driving down the road?
Yeah, I pulled over to look at him, and the eyes that looked back at me were evil. He was gone, and it's like. The dialogue is just, it's so hokey. It's so fucking forced. You're right. Like, it's just, everything about it is so ham-fisted in like the dumbest fucking way possible. Like, nothing about this makes any fucking sense. Like, it plays with certain tropes of like, you know, like the doctor and the nurse are sleeping together and then they get, you know, murdered and whatnot. And it just feels like, okay, like that's a pretty standard slasher type thing. Whatever, I don't really give a shit. But then, like, there's, like, the fucking, the gang of, like, marching band members who torment a 25-year-old man. Like,
oh, what? Yeah. And they all get fucked up inside the junkyard.
Yeah, you know, and so, like, it goes through, like, you know, sort of the slashery, gory things at certain points, but, like, the actual literal story of it is just so fucking nonsensical. And like the pervading point, I guess, is like evil is made or whatever. But like it also just at the same time feels like, yeah, but he came across Michael Myers and Michael Myers infected him with his evil. Like he put his evil in him. Like it almost felt like supernatural in that sort of way without trying to be that, because he's just an old man who can just get tackled, and this kid can just fucking steal his mask off him and you know, do a Michael Myers cosplay for a bit. Like, just,
I don't know. I think that,
yeah, go ahead.
I'm not quite sure what happened, because it wasn't.
That makes two of us.
He fucking he was going to choke the guy out in the sewer. After the kids pushed him off the fucking, the football player guy pushed him off the bridge.
Yeah, right. It goes off the bridge, right?
It's like, okay, he's fucked. Like, that's that. You know, we'll see what happens, I guess. You know, and no, come to find out he's totally okay. But Michael Myers saved him, I guess. I don't know. The whole thing's fucking weird. And I'm not quite sure what happened, and it's stupid. It's really bad.
It's like every single plot element in this either adds nothing, artificially pads the runtime,
or it makes it worse.
It just makes it worse. Like, I mean, I can't think of a single aspect of this film that is like, oh, you know, I actually did like that little bit in this. Like the one thing that I think the only thing that sort of works is the literal final confrontation between Laurie and Michael. I thought that was fine. I thought it was fine in the sense that, you know, it's just kind of a one-on-one kind of thing where, you know, she manages to stab him and he's going to kill her, blah, 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 and that's all going to be fine. I mean, the Deus Ex Machina of her granddaughter transporting across town, which, to be fair, it's probably a pretty small town, but like that whole thing, like this, like the conflict between them is so fucking forced because she's madly in love with this fucking loser for no apparent reason, and they're going to run away together, but also he wants to murder everyone. because Michael infected him, maybe, who's to say, but also maybe he's crazy, but also maybe the town made him evil, but also because Laurie, who is like, hey, granddaughter, look at this guy, isn't he super interesting? In 30 minutes, I fucking hate this guy. I want him out of your life. It's like...
Okay.
And he's got a crazy mom who's, super fixated and attached on him. It's just all just so fucking hokey. But I think about like the other little things in this where it's just like, the intro sequence is 10 minutes long. It's way too drawn out. It's kind of fucking goofy. And like the execution of it, I thought like it felt a little intriguing in terms of, just feeling like,
except intriguing looks like a lot more fun.
Intriguing feels intentional in some ways. This one felt like the literal, like just the way they kicked the kid over the fucking thing. Just ridiculous. I'm not saying that that's not possible, and I'm not saying that wouldn't be a horrifying event to happen, but just the literal depiction of it felt comical. Like it felt like you ragdoll a kid. It's like ragdoll physics in games where you send someone flying, like Grand Theft Auto. You hit someone and they go flying 300 feet, flipping over end for like 30 times in the air. It felt a little bit like that, where it's just like so comical that like it was hard to take seriously.
I'm happy that when you watch these things and you look at these things, I'm happy that you look at them the same way I do, because I'm pretty isolated in my bubble and how I feel about things over here. And you watch them and you tell me how you feel about these things. It's like, oh, thank God, because I laughed. I laughed out loud. It's like, if anybody walked in and they caught me laughing out loud at this, I'd probably feel kind of weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, you're laughing out loud with me, so that makes me feel less weird. I feel okay about it.
Yeah, I'm just going to run down the list, if you don't mind. Because it just feels like every little thing, and especially the first hour. Laurie's writing her memoir, and she's narrating, and I'm like, God, Jesus Christ. With all aspects of that. And then Corey works at a fucking salvage yard, which I think is literally an excuse just to have him wear a jumpsuit so he can be Michael Myers and about later on. Otherwise, it serves a little utility. He doesn't even fix fucking his girlfriend's car because she's so obsessed with him. I don't actually need a functional car. I just want to spend all my time with you. Teach me how to ride in your motorcycle, baby. The ex-boyfriend, the fucking cop who shows up, gets fucking murdered halfway through the movie and is never mentioned again. Are you telling me the police don't notice this guy's missing? Are you telling me the police aren't out to protect one of their own and they're not like on the fucking prowl figuring out what the fuck happened to this guy? Like, I don't buy it. It's like they didn't think that through, And also,
this guy? Which guy is this?
The cop ex-boyfriend. I have a hard time suspending my disbelief thinking that the cops aren't trying to figure out where this other buddy who they're hanging out with at the diner just went missing too. Like no one gives.
Oh, the asshole guy.
Yeah, and also is he like? How old's that guy? He's like.
He was like 40 years old.
Years old. Yeah. It felt like there's a little bit of an age gap there. I don't know if that was intentional or if that's just bad casting. Maybe it's just highlighting the fact that her granddaughter has got terrible taste in men. Maybe that was the point. And it just went over my head. Okay, I guess if that's the case, then I'll accept it at that point. But I don't know, man.
The thing that kind of like, I don't know, like the nail in the coffin for like the state of the movie, this is what we're in a ride for, was after they kicked the kid over the bridge, and Michael Myers touched him, and he looked in his eyes, and then he started turning into Michael Myers.
He gave him the penance stare, and then, he literally got the visions of Michael. And it's like, oh, yeah. I know your pain. It's my pain too. We have the pain together. People, it's funny. I was looking at like some of the reactions online because I kind of did the same thing too. As you, where it's just like, are people finding the same things funny as I am? Or just the same things as hokey as I am? And I think the answer is yes. But someone, there's actually several people I think that pointed it out where there's a scene. I think it might actually be. I can't remember if it's before or after, but around the time that the doctor and the nurse get murdered, and it immediately transitions to Corey riding on a motorcycle, and people were like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm really disappointed that when it panned back that it was him riding with Allison and not with Michael Myers riding bitch on the back of his motorcycle. Which begs the question, how did Michael get there? Did he just shamble along quite slowly and then Corey just had to like fucking wait around for him for a while? Did he park around the corner of the motorcycle as he just slowly made his way there into town? No one noticed him just plodding along? Or was he riding on the motorcycle the whole time? Not. Who's to say?
That's hilarious.
I think that would have made the movie better personally. I think that might have bumped it up to fine. Just the image of Michael on the back of the motorcycle would have been
it would have bumped it up to Inthrigan for sure.
Yeah, Inthrigan tier for sure. Yeah. My one last side plot that who cares that I'm throwing out is like they tease like a romance between Laurie and the deputy guy, and it's like, who cares? Like there's a scene in the grocery store with them, and then outside the grocery store, and then he's like bringing fruit to her or vegetables to her at the end. It's like, okay, why? Like more runtime spent on things that
we don't care.
You know, and like, I guess it's not a bad thing that Laurie might, find someone, who's been through similar trauma and have like a good bonding experience over that, and have, someone who she could find comfort in. But like, when everything else rings so hollow in this movie, that's just another thing of, we don't need it. We just don't need it. There's a tighter version of this movie that cuts down on a lot of the excesses in the first hour and makes it a little bit more of a tighter experience. And I think that takes it from a shithouse film to a shit film, maybe, perhaps, still quite not fine, but at least in the higher tier of shithouse. But but as is, it's just so fucking long. It was absolutely brutal to get through that first hour. Just who fucking cares about any of these characters? They're all dumb and unlikable and they don't feel like people. None of these people acted like human beings. And that was true of Halloween Kills as well. And I think less true of the first Halloween, where it felt like an actual family unit. This if you told me it was written by aliens, I would say, yes, I think that seems correct. Like just like people are, or, like, I guess just written by sociopaths who just don't understand like human emotions or something like that. Like that would make sense too. It's like, yes, it was written by a serial killer. Yes, it was. Michael Myers wrote this film himself. This is Michael Myers' epic. This is his the grand piece. I don't know, man. Anyway, second rant over, I think. And in fact, I think I might be out of words to talk about Halloween Ends with. And you know what? I think it's best if we end this conversation, unless you have other things to add.
No, I've got nothing. It was pretty terrible. I did not. Quite bad. I did not enjoy it, really, to be honest.
Yeah, as a real. I mean, I don't want to say it's a letdown necessarily, but it kind of is. It felt like Halloween.
I like the first out of the three.
Yeah, they went 1 for 3, and they kind of Game of Thrones did a bit here. I think overall. They kind of did not stick the landing. So, yeah, Halloween Ends. There you have it. Perhaps don't go see it in theaters, and perhaps don't fire it up on Peacock either. I think that might be the best thing to do for yourselves. Stick to the John Carpenter classic. Stick to the other the 2018 sequel if you need a little bit more of a modern take on Halloween, and I think that you'd do well to just end it there. Michael Myers burnt to death in that house. It's true. Everything after that, a fever dream.
That's it.
Fever dream from Laurie Strode, who's still paranoid and isn't quite sure. Did he actually die? I'm not sure. Well, what if he didn't die? Then this could happen. That's Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. That's how you headcanon that. So moving on. It hasn't been a whole lot. It's been I think it's quite literally been a week since we recorded, in fact, but what have you been up to? You've been watching any other spooky things or other things that you can talk about?
So I've seen Hocus Pocus 2.
Oh, okay, all right. And how does it compare to the first one? Which I think you were ambivalent on. I think, said it was fine, right?
Yeah, first one was okay. Like, it's obviously a product of its time.
Okay. Hocus Pocus 2. Is it a product of its time? Is it a product of the TikTok generation?
Yes. Second one's pretty rough. It's real shit. Did not enjoy that at all. So I've kind of been hit with a double whammy this week of two spooky movies that were just
shit
really
in a row.
Poorly made.
Therein lies the trouble with horror is you get more shit than anything else, I think, overall.
Yes. I have watched a movie. Let's see. I've watched a movie called Psycho. I watched Psycho.
Oh.
Now
what possible purpose could you have for watching that
watch
film?
a black and white film? It may or may not be something that we might be covering for a bonus episode.
Oh, okay, interesting.
But interesting enough.
Yeah.
I watched this movie, and you know who watched this movie with me? Who was sucked in?
Sarah?
Sarah was sucked in hard to a black and white movie.
Yeah.
And I thought for sure it'd be in black and white from the 60s, like she'd have no interest, but she was sucked in pretty hard. So watch that. It was, we'll talk about it. Maybe.
We'll talk about it. Who's to say?
What else did I do? I finished a show called I had a busy weekend actually. I finished Lord of the Rings.
Oh yes, yeah, because the finale dropped on Amazon, right?
Yeah, Rings of Power. I finished that. What I will say is I think that the beginning, I'd say probably like the beginning 2/3. I think the beginning 2/3 is probably fair. I think the beginning 2/3 is pretty slow, and kind of meandering and just kind of like maybe not interesting. I really feel like I'm kind of biased to like the IP. Like I just enjoy this thing being made. So like I'm going to watch it. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to relish it. But objectively, I can say that it was kind of meandering, I think. But by the end of the season, specifically the finale, as a person that's not completely enveloped in Tolkien lore and stuff, I thought it was really, really, really awesome. I really enjoyed the finale of the show.
Cool.
I thought it was super cool. And it makes me very, 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 very excited about season 2. So, excited to see where it goes. And hopefully from here on out, we have more of a just deliberate process with how they deliver the story. Because like I said, the first
just portion, like a lot of setup kind of thing.
Yeah, it felt like a lot of setup. It felt like they felt the need to just like linger on like unexplained things a whole lot, like who characters are and this and that. And they didn't reveal things until the final episode, and I think that's kind of to its undoing because like you could have done so much more. Mm-hmm. If you were just like a little bit more deliberate with your pacing, So I think it just suffered with pacing, in how they wanted to reveal certain things. But when it popped off at the end, I was very happy that I invested as much time as I did in the show. I also watched. I have one episode left in Dahmer. Okay. Yeah. I finished. I think I finished Andor. Was the last season of Andor last week?
No, it's like 12 episodes, so it's still got.
It's still going.
Still got a ways to go for the season itself to wrap up.
Okay. All right. Well, it felt like a pretty satisfying episode. Mm-hmm. I did finish She-Hulk. That's definitely done. She-Hulk was pretty cool. Been watching that. We'll talk about that.
Yep.
Probably eventually.
Probably quite soon, I would reckon.
And I've just been trying to watch a bunch of scary, spooky movies. I I can't think of anything else that I've watched other than Psycho and Lord of the Rings. Andor is pretty cool, by the way. I don't think I've lingered too much on Andor.
I don't think
we'll
we've talked about it since the trailer.
Yeah, so Andor's pretty cool.
I haven't watched any of it yet, but I've heard good things.
I think Andor's really... It follows the same vein as...
Rogue One?
Rogue One, that's it. It's kind of like espionage-y a little bit. It's kind of just like ground troops, basic level stuff. You know what I mean? How does the regular guy make a difference? And that's kind of what it feels like. And it feels really good. I mean, I really like it. I think it's a good show. I've been reading Misbtorn. That's another thing.
Okay. Nice.
Misbtorn of the Sanderson novels. Definitely not. It's kind of set up kind of like a heist, which is kind of interesting. It's kind of like Italian Job, but with like mystical stuff a little bit sprinkled in there. It's an interesting like take on fantasy, whereas like your Stormlight Archive is kind of more like Lord of the Rings or something like that, Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Okay.
This is set up like Italian Job, but these people have like maybe some powers. So it's definitely an interesting take. But I'm probably halfway through the first book of Mistborn, so we'll see where it goes. And I think that's it. I think that's all I really got.
Okay. Well, I don't have a lot on my end. I haven't watched a whole lot in terms of film and television. In fact, I think the only thing that I have watched other than Halloween Ends is another episode of House of the Dragon, which I think I'm 2 behind now. The finale is coming up the Sunday after we record, so half a week away roughly. Go ahead.
So I want to show you a picture of a thing I pick up tomorrow.
Okay.
And you can tell everybody what it is, because I'm really, 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 really happy about this. I've been looking for this for a very long time.
Okay. I don't know what it is, but I'll find out shortly. And it is that a piano that I spy?
That's a piano, dude.
Oh, all right. Well, tell me about the piano. Where's it coming from? What's
so here's the thing. It's crazy. I've been told by the person selling the piano that it's a mint condition. It's an upright piano, so it's a piano. It's not super deep, but it's it's a real. It's not like a keyboard. It's a real. This is built in the 1800s.
Just perhaps not as big as some.
It's an antique, though. I can tell you more about it. Let me find it real quick. I've been wanting an upright piano for a little while to replace one of the, I have 2 couches in the sitting room. When you walk through the front door, there's a couch on the left, there's a couch on the right. And I've been wanting to replace, at the very minimum, one of those couches with a piano next to the record player.
Yeah.
With a piano. And today I found right at the end of the day, I just pull up my phone, put it on Facebook, and I found it's a Wurlitzer piano, is what it is.
Okay.
And I can't seem to pull it up, but it's an upright piano from the early 1900s, maybe. Or I haven't looked at serial numbers or anything else, but the person that listed it obviously listed it as as old as fucking possible, which is probably not entirely accurate. But she says all the keys work and it's in tune, so that's cool. It's an upright piano. You slide it against the wall, and I got it for $200.
Nice.
So I've got I got
deal.
4 people in a rollback. I got the thing that we use to tow cars. We're gonna show up to this person's house at 7:00 tomorrow and take this thing to the house. I could not be happier. I'm very excited about it. So anyways, got a piano, which is cool.
Very cool.
I may or may not, maybe in a few months, start taking piano lessons again. Yeah. So that would be very cool.
Yeah, very nice. A good acquisition to the house. Yeah, that'll be cool. Very cool.
Anyways, that's all I got. That is definitely the last bit of news I got.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Like I said, catching up on House of the Dragon, but reserve fuller thoughts for when the season concludes, and if maybe we get a chance to talk about it, if you can suffer through the wigs and such. On a related note, I do want to catch up on Lord of the Rings. When I say catch up, I mean watch all of it, because I haven't watched any of it, but I'm keen to watch it. It's another one I would like to cover, but it may not be until I have time carved out to watch it, especially given that we'll be watching a handful of movies over the next 2 weeks. It might be devoting time to other things for now. But in terms of what I have done besides the film and TV stuff, what little there is there, I was up in Vermont for the weekend, and it was beautiful up there. Always gorgeous in the fall, but the foliage was really, really splendid to look at. Weather was great. Overall, got up, I think, Thursday, and I think Friday was kind of a rainy day, so it was kind of an indoors day where you just do your own thing, and you read and you hang out and you have a good time, play some board games, and it was fun. And then Saturday we traveled over to Waitsfield, Vermont, and Stowe, Vermont, and went to some general stores and got like a small town kind of thing going on. Find some picturesque settings to explore, to enjoy. That was really nice. Went to the Von Trapp Brewery, which was cool. And then it was just a fun time up there. It's just nice to be up there. The one downside of the weekend was that I had a miserable sports weekend. Absolutely fucking miserable, I'll tell you. Atlanta Braves got bounced in the division series, courtesy of the Philadelphia Phillies, which, I've got lots of friends that are Phillies fans, and, good for them or whatever, but sucks to get bounced by a division foe, especially one that finished in third place and was pretty much mediocre for most of the season. But to their credit, they fucking kicked the Braves' asses. No doubt about it. It wasn't a fluky series win. They just straight up kicked their asses. So the Braves had an early exit this year, but I'll wipe my tears with my 2021 World Series victory, I guess. And the Gators got fucked up by LSU. Defense was fucking horrendous. Thankfully, they have a bye week, and then it's Georgia. Then it's the Florida-Georgia game, the world's largest the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, and that's going to be a fucking slaughter. It's going to be rough, but I'm bracing for it. I got 2 weeks to brace for it, so it's fine. Everyone knows it's coming. As long as they can maintain their streak of points scored in a game, I think it's a moral victory. And the Jaguars blew a lead to a bad Colts team. I mean, granted, the Jaguars are also a bad team. We all know this, but it was like everything. I was just getting punched around. In terms of my sports teams.
Did you watch the Tennessee-Alabama game?
I did watch the tail end of that, and I watched part of it. Actually, I was at the brewery for part of it, so I saw bits and pieces of it. That looked like it was quite the ride in terms of a game. Tennessee's no fucking joke this year, so that's the game. That's the game to watch out for Georgia this year. That's their trap game, I think. Well, I guess Missouri was the trap game. I think Tennessee is that's the competitive matchup that decides the East. It basically seems like that's what it's heading for this year. So that'll be interesting.
Looks like it. They tore that shit down.
Oh yeah, they tore the goalposts down and threw them in the river. And then the school turned around and was like, "Can you guys give us money so we can buy new ones?" I'm like, how much fucking revenue are you pulling in that you need to fucking take money from fans? Like, fuck off. I'm sorry. Like, you have more than enough money to buy new goddamn goalposts. I found that ridiculous, but I'm not a Tennessee fan. No, I'm sure that's no surprise to you, but
Hey, they beat Alabama. Good for them. They haven't beat them in like 20 years.
Good for them.
Whatever.
It's like little brother finally did something. We're all grown up now for a year. They'll probably be mediocre next year, but we'll see. Maybe they're built to last. Who's to say? Maybe it's a dynasty in the future, and Florida is way behind the curve. We'll see. They've been behind the curve since the Urban Meyer days, you might say. So, and even then, that was just they were ahead of the curve by having no discipline on their team. But that's not what we're here to talk about. And I have nothing else to talk about. Vermont was lovely. I highly encourage people to get up there whenever you get a chance. Beautiful in the fall, beautiful any time of the year. Cold in the winters, perhaps. But you can always go skiing up there. That's a thing to do in the winter.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that's what I've got. Looking forward to catching up on. I got to finish She-Hulk. I got to finish House of the Dragon when it comes up. I got to watch Werewolf by Night. So I've got some things to look forward to in addition to some horror movies that I'd like to sneak in as well. So I got lots of things I got to catch up on now that I'm back and have. One of the things about coming home is like looking at that beautiful OLED TV. Just nothing. There's just nothing like it, Nothing compares. So that's when I come back. Like, it just feels good. It just feels good to be able to watch stuff on that, even if they are shitty movies. Looking at you, Halloween Ends. But that's what I've got. You want to wrap this up?
I'd like to wrap this up and say that we've recorded our second episode in 2 weeks, and this one is sub 2 hours. We haven't had a sub 2 hour episode.
Wow, the longer you talk, the longer we go. No, I'm just kidding. I think we'll be fine. I think we can get it done in under 2. I think we can. I think we can do it. Well, I'll artificially extend it, just like Halloween Ends artificially extended its runtime to say an early happy birthday to you, good sir, because I think.
Oh yeah.
I think the next we record will be after. But by the time this goes up on the regular feed and close to the Patreon feed as well, it will be either right around your birthday or it'll be
31. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do know.
That's what I'll be.
It'll be your 31 birthday. So yeah. Well, happy birthday, good sir. Another tally. No.
I've made it this far.
That's right. 218 episodes of the podcast and a few specials in the books. How about that? And a bonus episode soon. So yeah, thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, please spread the word. As we mentioned at the top, we're on Patreon at patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat. Again, the deal with that is $2 a month will get you early access to all of our regular episodes, in addition to timed exclusive access to bonus episodes, of which we will have one coming out very soon at the end of this month. Is certainly our expectation anyway. I think we'll make it happen. And I can't remember exactly how much we talked about it on our Woman King episode, other than to say that we would be covering Hellraiser, the 2022 Hellraiser, on it. So we can officially again confirm that will be one of the films we're talking about. And I'll say that we're covering 7 films on it. It started at 4. It has grown to 7. It's going to be 7 decades of horror. And we'll be selecting representatives from each decade beginning in the 1960s. And wouldn't you guess it, Psycho is going to be the 1960s representative. I'll go ahead and confirm that since we've more or less talked about it already. And I'll also say, since it sort of came up in the conversation, we'll be also talking about Bram Stoker's Dracula, the 1990s one, as that's our 1990s representative. So we'll have to fill in the gaps with the next few episodes of revealing our 70s, 80s, and I guess the 2000s and 2010s representatives. But there you have it. If you want to prepare for that episode, go check out Psycho, go check out Bram Stoker's Dracula, go check out Hellraiser, the 2022 one, and you'll be 3/7 of the way there. 7 decades of horror. Look forward to our bonus episode. I'm excited. I've got lots of watching to do, but I'm excited.
It'll be a fun one, though.
Yes, very fun. And first time we've done a horror one, I feel like, for a horror bonus episode, I should say, in a good little while. Couple years at least, I would say.
For sure.
But our website is watchreviewrepeat.com. We're on the social medias at WRRpod on Twitter, at Watch Review Repeat on Instagram, and Watch Review Repeat on Facebook. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, want to be on a future edition of the Listener's Corner, you have thoughts to share on Halloween Ends, any horror movies that you've been watching because it's spooky season, or anything else that you've been up to, send those our way to watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com. Our intro and outro track is Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. Our next episode, we expect to be covering She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, and Werewolf by Night in some capacity. She-Hulk obviously is a full series. Werewolf by Night is a one-off special. We may combine coverage into one. We may split it into two. I don't think we've firmly decided on that yet. But we've got lots of Marvel stuff to talk about between those two. Lots of Marvel news that I've been intentionally holding back. So we'll have a lot of Marvel goodness on tap. So look forward to our coverage of that. That's what you have next. And I can exclusively confirm we made it under the 2-hour mark. Hell yeah. And
hell yeah. Goals.
Before we risk it even further, why don't you take us out?
Take care now. Bye-bye then.
Laters on the Menjay.